Hey everybody, today I'm out here in New York and Kia has brought along the all-new EV9. This is going to be one of the first three-row, actual usable third-row full EVs on sale in North America, and it looks like it's going to be beating the Volvo EX90 to market in the US. Let's take a look. The first thing you'll notice up front is the more modern interpretation of Kia's front-end design. They're still calling this a tiger nose design, but it really is less tiger nosy than ever before. Really, it's just this little strip right here in this black section of the front end. This is a really interesting design as far as modern Kias go because we have a lot of modern tech here. LiDAR sensors, there are actually going to be two of them in the top end trim like this one. This is a LiDAR sensor right here, and then there's another one on the other side of the front bumper. It's also going to be radar below, ultrasonic sensors up front, and then a whole host of cameras. This is going to offer an automated driving system, at least in some world markets. We don't know exactly what's going to come to the US, but hands-free driving is likely going to come here. The other thing that's really cool, these headlights are actually multi-module LEDs. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on each side in 2 rows right there. Big accent strip up front. There are going to be a bunch of different colors offered, of course. This particular model is the GT line trim. So this is going to be the sportiest, most powerful version, just under 380 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. And that's why we have wide tires, 285 width tires. That's really an interesting twist. I was expecting much narrower tires because the range target for this is going to be about 300 miles. Now, taking a look at the side of this, you'll notice how boxy it is. In some images, the EV9 looks a lot smaller than it is in reality. This is about the same size as a Kia Telluride on the outside, but actually in some key dimensions, larger than a Telluride on the inside. So the third row is more accommodating than the all-new Toyota Grand Highlander. If you're looking for a big three-row crossover, this is roomier inside than Volvo's new EX90. Moving around to the back, you'll notice that the roofline stays very tall and very constant. The roofline is about the same height as a Kia Telluride, as is the ground clearance, nearly 8 inches in the EV9. We don't know whether that's going to be all versions, but at least one of the models will be 7.9 inches. The rear end tail lamps are very concept car looking. I really like the design, and we have a very vertical hatch, which is also a bit of a surprise back here. If I open the hatch, we find about 20 cubic feet of cargo capacity back here in the rear. So again, about the same size as a Kia Telluride, but what's unusual is that there's even some storage space right here under the load floor. Under this load floor, this is where we're going to find the vehicle to load connector that's going to be standard on this. This supports vehicle to load, vehicle to grid functionality, and of course, fast DC fast charging, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Powered hatch there, just as you'd expect. Very clean lines all the way around, and this rear hatch reminds me of sort of a blown-up Volkswagen Golf. Third stoplight right there in the middle. It's a very clean design. Taking a dive under the hood, you'll notice that we do have a slightly larger cargo area than we find in other EGMP platform vehicles like the EV6. If you come in for a close look here, you notice it is a little bit deeper, but it is still much smaller than some in this segment. And that's because we have a very short hood, actually, relative to a lot of EVs that are out there right now. Kia and Hyundai, their parent company, have decided to keep this platform very focused on practical arrangement of space. Go ahead and close the hood there. There are going to be 2 different batteries offered in the United States. We are going to get a small battery pack, 76.1 kilowatt hours, and a 99.8 kilowatt hour extended range battery pack. But unlike other world markets, it's going to come only in 2 different power levels. 215 horsepower is the base model. You'll get that either with the standard range battery or the extended range battery pack. If you get the extended range battery pack, there's also going to be the option of a dual motor setup, 379 horsepower, 0 to 60, around 5 seconds. Now, we don't have any range figures just yet, but apparently the extended range battery pack with rear-wheel drive should come in at about 300 miles of EPA range. Also worth noting, we don't have any pricing just yet, but Kia has indicated sideways here that this is likely going to be less expensive than the Volvo EX90. So I would expect this to top out less than $80,000. Now let's take a look at the inside. Going inside the cabin, we definitely have Kia's most advanced seats in here. We have ottomans in 4 seat positions, the 2 front seats and the 2 middle seats. This is a 4-way adjustable seat with adjustable lumbar, and it's going to feature massage functionality as well. Lots of things going on in this cabin. Also, a powered tilt telescopic steering column in the top end trim. Kia has moved some of the seat controls over to the front doors. So this is where we find things like the heated steering wheel controls, the heated and ventilated seat controls for the front seats, and the seat massage button right there on that side. The interior design is definitely a big departure from other Kias, but there are some themes that are similar to what we find in the EV6. Let's take a look at the second row now, because interior roominess is definitely what the EV9 has going on here. If I hop into the second row here, we have a powered ottoman in this top end trim. Now, I would probably get an EV9 with manual second row seats because they're certainly going to move an awful lot faster than this powered design, but headroom is definitely very generous. This second row is also heated and ventilated. Now let's go ahead and try out the third row. The first thing you'll notice about the third row in the EV9 is that this is 2-seat only. There's no 8-seat version of this vehicle. It's going to be 6 or 7. So 2 up front, 2 in the middle, 2 in the back, or 3 in the middle. If I try and squeeze over here, there's not a lot of legroom, but there is a ton of headroom. Actually, nearly 3 inches of headroom back here. More headroom than in the Mazda CX-90 I was driving earlier this week. More headroom than we find in the Grand Highlander, the Pilot, etc. This actually may be the roomiest third row in the 3-row mainstream crossover segment. Also, there's just a lot of legroom going on in here, period. So this second row seat is all the way back in its tracks, but that gives it enough room for that powered ottoman to function, and you could definitely scoot them further forward if you want more third row room. Now, again, I think I would probably get the manual second row seats because it's going to make getting back there into the third row easier. Now let's take a look at the dashboard styling. The interior design is familiar if you've seen some recent Kia models. We have one moonroof just there over the driver and front passenger. We get a second one over the middle area of the vehicle, but no single pane sheet of glass in here. Moving back to the dashboard, we find a mixture of different fabrics. We find some soft touch materials up front, lots of recycled fabrics and materials, ambient lighting going on right there. We have a very large glove compartment. That is a surprising thing because the dashboard is not terribly bulky. We get some unique climate controls here, toggles for the temperature, some touch buttons for the infotainment system right up top, volume roller knob right there, and then down below that we have an interesting twist on the USB ports that we've seen from Kia for a while. This button here switches this USB port from a charge and interface port to just a charge port. That one's going to be a charge port all the time, and then that is the 12-volt power port. I can see that mechanism getting broken pretty easily. There's lots of storage going on here in the center. Big storage bin there, more of that fabric accenting. Roller type cover there for the cup holders, 2 big cup holders with these little rotating sections that we've seen in other Kias for a while. Moving down from there, we have auto brake hold, fingerprint recognition sensor. We've seen that in some modern Genesis models. Qi wireless charging mat, lots of storage going on there as well. Moving back up to the dashboard, we have a twin LCD setup with a bit of a twist for Kia. We have an LED panel right here in the middle. This is also touchscreen, but this is not part of an LCD. This is actually just an LED array for the climate control buttons. Over here, we have the newest version of the Kia software for the infotainment system. This will now support EV charging drive routing. Also, it's going to support battery preconditioning. Moving over here, we have a full color heads-up display up there, large color LCD instrument cluster right there, and then a new steering wheel design. We have the drive mode buttons and 4-wheel drive lock button there. Interesting twist about the 4-wheel drive lock mode. We think that that is going to entail a mechanical lock of the rear differential because this is going to have a torque vectoring axle in the back if you get the all-wheel drive model, but we don't have too many details just yet. Adjustable regen paddles on the back, autonomous driving mode buttons there along with the radar adaptive cruise control buttons, some infotainment buttons over there on that side. Here's a closer look at those driver seat controls again. It's worth noting that the passenger seat does not have the same range of motion as the driver's seat. It does have the extending ottoman for resting your feet while you're DC fast charging, but it does not have the inflatable bolsters or the 4-way lumbar. It becomes a 2-way lumbar. It also doesn't support the massage functionality that the driver's seat gets. Be sure and sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of the styling of the EV9. This is definitely a big, bold, and boxy EV 3-row crossover. And the closest 2 vehicles to this in the United States are going to be the Rivian R1S and the Volvo EX90, at least for the moment. The R1S is a little bit different. It's really focusing on off-road capability. It's going to be faster, longer range. There's a really big battery pack available, about 400 miles of range. Also, adaptive air suspension to give you extra ground clearance for off-roading ability. Then there's going to be the Volvo EX90, which is honestly the most similar thing to this. And I even see a little bit of Volvo in this bell-shaped rear-end design. Let me know what you think about that. Now, the EX90 is going to start under $80,000. You can bet it's going to be just barely under $80,000, and it's going to be on sale after this. This is going to be on sale in 2023. Some interesting twists about that. The first models will be shipped from South Korea. It will be manufactured in South Korea, sold in the United States before the end of calendar year 2023. Then starting sometime in 2024, production for the US will move to the United States. So this will eventually qualify for some portion of the federal tax credit. We're still waiting for complete guidance on that, but when production moves to the US, it should qualify for at least half the federal tax credit, possibly the other half, depending on exactly where the battery components come from. That definitely will make this different than some of the competition, but oddly enough, right in line again with the Rivian and the Volvo EX90, because those are also going to be built in the United States. If you are looking for a 3-row crossover with honest-to-goodness solid 3-row room, this is right now the best in the segment. 3rd-row room for 2 passengers I think is actually a little bit better than the R1S. It is unquestionably better than the Tesla Model X. The Model X really has a very aerodynamic profile. It's really egg-shaped right back here, so it's probably going to be more efficient. The downside is that its 3rd row is not as usable. So if you're looking for something that's big and boxy, basically an electric Telluride, it's exactly why you should put the EV9 on your shopping list. Let me know if you're interested. Kia is not accepting pre-orders for this, apparently. The purchase process is going to be basically the same as the EV6. You contact your dealer, you say you want one, it's going to be sold in all 50 states, and it's just going to be a scramble for the first people to get on board with an EV9. Stay tuned because I will have a drive review of this probably sometime in November or December 2023. And apparently this will be on dealer lots right around November. See all of you later.